Welcome to Just Be Creative. I'm your host Joshua, and today we're going to be talking about self-confidence today. Yeah, alright. And today's a special video because today is Saturday. Yay, it's Saturday, guys. And we're going to be doing a video today on self-confidence. Now, what is self-confidence, you may be asking me? Well, self-confidence to me is having the courage to believe in what you can do. You know, you have to have self-confidence in what you're doing. Let me just draw you an example. I'm gonna do it while I'm talking. So, self-confidence to me, what does it mean? Well, to me, I've always seen these elections on TV about people voting for certain things, and when I was a kid, I didn't really like elections. I still don't, But there was this one time when I was a kid in elementary school. And they had this really cool thing where they could let you vote on the president even though you were a kid. They were doing like a fake election kind of thing. It was teachers about elections. So I voted for, well, the president at the time was what was his name? Was it George Bush or was it Was it George Bush or was it? I forgot the guy's name. I know it wasn't my year when I was still in elementary school. So well, I was born in '87, so I got to choose the president. And it was really cool. It was a really cool process. I must admit, it was really cool, but it was still kind of boring to me. Of course, nowadays I can't do that anymore because of my religious beliefs. So that's the thing. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. So I got to choose the president, and we all chose the same guy in the long run because all of us liked the guy because of what he stood for. Because he wanted to increase Social Security and he wanted to help disabilities more, which I found really cool. Well, back then, nowadays I don't know. I'm getting involved with politics. So anyway, that guy showed self-confidence, and he was a very good person despite what he did. I mean, he did something really wrong, but he had a personal issue he had to deal with. So anyway, when guys give elections, they often make speeches about certain things. Like, I promise to do this. Like, I promise to lower taxes. And do they ever keep their promises? No. In my opinion, no. Because they can try, but it's not their fault in a way because it has to do with Congress. Because Congress makes the rules in the long run, and if they don't like what they're seeing, then they're not gonna just do it. I mean, you could be the president, but you still gotta go through Congress. Because technically, Congress is your boss. They're the ones who are in charge. The president just makes the rules and doesn't make the decisions. He doesn't really make the laws. Congress does. Because Congress is a system that was designed so that the president doesn't have too much power. Because after America's War for Independence against the British, they didn't want that to happen again. So they created a system of checks and balances. Now, this system does work sometimes, and it doesn't always work all the time. Now, what do I mean, of course? Well, the system was designed so that people who didn't have rights can have rights. Of course, this was back before the civil rights movements and before slavery was outlawed. So people just didn't have rights. So I'm just making this an observation. But people basically had basic, when America first started, people had basic rights. Right to own property, the right to own certain parts of land if you paid for certain parts. And back then it was cheap. Back then, when America first started, it was cheap. People didn't care about the health crises. You only cared about survival. How we gonna get food for this winter? How we gonna get all kinds of stuff from the winter? You know, and people didn't care about the health or education of our children. They only cared about surviving. Because people were farmers. Some people were just farmers, working in the fields. And they didn't care about elections or stuff like that. They only cared about surviving the winter back then. In fact, most Americans still own slaves back then too, especially in the South, especially here in Florida. Before Florida became a recognized state, it was just a bunch of land that no one knew about. But we still had slavery back then, so it was kind of dark in a way. Because when I was learning about the history of slavery, it was very hard back then for them too. Because imagine being a slave and having no rights, no freedom, no. You can't decide when you want to take a break. You have to do what your owner says, otherwise you're gonna die. Now, when I was in school about the history of slavery and about the history of what was going on, it was really wrong because these people were just like us. Just because they had different color of skin doesn't mean they weren't like us. They had families. They had worries about issues they had to worry about. They had to worry about feeding their family. They had to worry about, hey, am I going to survive today, or is my owner going to kill me? Because that's something people don't think about. That's something people don't think about. When people owned slaves back then, they didn't think about the consequences of their actions. They just saw them as a piece of property. That's how they were to them. Just a piece of property. Now, when slavery was abolished, it was a huge game changer. Because now, people who have different colored skin have equal rights. Now they have to respect each other because now they have to show each other respect. Most people don't like that. That's what started the Civil War. Most people said, "Oh, I think these guys are just property to me because I own them. My family owned them for years, so now I own them." So but a lot of people didn't agree with that. That's what started the Civil War, and it was a horrible war too. A bunch of people died on both sides, all because of one issue: slavery. But luckily, President Lincoln created his famous speech on the Battle of Gettysburg. He made people see that it was wrong for slaves to be treated like dirt. That they have the same rights, the same feelings, the same issues we all have. And it got better for a time. Now, I'm getting off topic, so self-confidence. A lot of those issues I just mentioned, slavery, those people had to be self-confident because they had to have courage. That's the main thing. You had to have courage to stand up for what's right. You had to have courage to say, I want to do this because it's the right thing to do. Even if it's hard. And that's what courage is, standing up for what is right, even though it's hard sometimes. Oh, let me. When I was a kid, education was simple. You went to school, you go to school, you learned about this subject, you talk about the subject in the classroom, you talk about the subject all day for the class lesson, and it's like very simple. Of course, I was in special needs, so it was a bit different than regular school, than regular classes for regular kids. So because in special needs, that's another thing about being so confident. You have to have confidence to tell the teacher that to have self confidence in yourself in special needs, because people in special needs get nervous. We often get scared. We often feel afraid to talk to stand up for ourselves, because people look at us and they think, oh, he's mentally handicapped, or oh, he's can't understand what we're saying. When in reality, I do understand what you're saying. So I always tell people, watch what you say, because I can understand what you're saying. Because I know from personal experience how people underestimate you. People underestimate me all the time. They often think, oh, because Josh was physically disabled, he doesn't understand this. But in reality, he does. It just takes me a little time to understand what you're trying to tell me. And back then, I had to have self confidence, because back then, no one's gonna do this for me. I had to do it for myself. Because in the school system for the disabled, it's very some schools are great. Don't get me wrong. Some schools are awesome with handicapped children, but some schools, they don't do it right. And what I mean is, they don't treat them like equals. They don't listen to them. They don't respect what they're trying to say. It's all about respect, guys. Oh, we are going way over time, so I gotta go. So I'll let you guys go, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye. And what do you think of this? Bye. Let me know in the comments. Bye.